logics. How to build the logics. When you are writing a program, primary thing that we need to understand is what is the data involved in the operation. The most of the time the program becomes difficult for you because you are not sure what you are writing. Without analyzing the requirement, without knowing what exactly you are supposed to build, you start writing the program. That is the reason you create a variable and stop the operation. When you are learning a programming, when you are new to a programming, when you are learning a programming, first thing that we need to understand is what is the data involved in this. What is the basically why I am writing this program for what? What I want to achieve. By writing this program, what I want to achieve. To do this, what is the data that is involved? In this data, which data will be collected by the system? Which data I have to provide? If you analyze this first, then you have to write a programming. Writing the code is only 20%. 80% is understanding your requirement, what you are trying to achieve, what is the data involved, which data is given by the user, which data is given by the system, what values are calculated by the system, that you need to analyze first. Then writing a program. Writing a log code is only 20% of development. But what you are doing, without doing 80% of the work, straight away you are starting with the 20%. There is a reason the program becomes difficult for you and you don't know what you are doing. So when you are writing a program, the primary thing is what is your target? What do you want to do? To do this, what is the data we require? In this data, which data is given by you? Which data is calculated by the system? If it is calculated by the system, what is the formula? After doing this operation, should I save it? Should I print it? If you have the clarity about this, programming is very simple. Let us do basic level requirements. So, for the last time, let me know how many of you are very scratch to the development, classroom people or online. How many of you are very new to the development? Very new to, don't hesitate. If you hesitate, I'll start with advanced. Now, how many of you are very new to the programming? Now, who cannot write a logics? Who cannot write a logics? How many of you are? Right. Rest all the people can write? Or still hesitation to tell? Okay. Right. Chalo. Let me take basic level programming. Let me give you the part here. Now I have a requirement. There is a communication between me and a shopkeeper. I went to a shop. There is a communication between me and a shopkeeper. Then he asked, what is the name of the book? Then he told, boss, Salesforce development. What is the price of it? Now told 200. How many books you want? Pay any discount? %10 on. So this is the interaction that happened between me and Ravi, the shopkeeper. Now this conversation I want to convert in the form of programming. Whatever the conversation I had, I want to convert this conversation in the form of programming. If I want to convert in the form of programming, what is the goal of this? We are trying to purchase some books and we are trying to pay the bill with the discount. Now, to achieve this, what is the data involved? Tell me, what is the data involved? What is the data that is involved here? In this operation, what is the data involved? We asked book name, then price is involved, right? Then number of books, quantity, then total,
Discount.
and finally, what is the amount I have to pay? So in this discussion, what is the data involved? This is the data. Okay. Now, book name. What type of data we are giving? Book name I told Salesforce development, which is in the form of string. Price, I told the price is 200. You want to take 200.00. Data is in this format. Number of books, you told data will be like 10 and 20. Total, now you told 200 into 10. So calculated by number of books into price. Discount, I told 10% of total, calculated by system. How? Total into 10%. Final price, calculated by system, total minus. So in this conversation, what is the data that is involved and what is the format of the data? Then which values are given by you, which values are calculated by the system. If you analyze this, based on this, writing a program is a simplified version. Now, if I want to give a book, what format is this? String. So how will you give? String. Now, price, what was that? Decimal. 200.200, right? Now, number of books, then I have a decimal, 200.00 into 10, we have total, we have decimal, discount, total into 0.10. I want to take it as a decimal and a final price. Yeah, decimal discount. Right. Then final price. While writing, all the variable names should be in the lower camel. Now, this is the data involved. We are supposed to assign the value. You're giving price equal to now number of books, right? Total, what is the formula I have given? Price into discount, total into 10%, final price, total minus. Now, if you analyze this, when you are new to the programming, even if you are expert today, you will learn the programming the same way, right? Even if you are expert in the development, in 10 years of experience in development, in the starting, you also run the same format, right? Now, what is the format in this way? First, understanding what is the data involved. What is the data involved? Now, in this data, who is going to provide? Which data should be given by the user? Which data will be calculated by the system? Then if you understand what formulas they are using, then writing this program is just a gist of this. On the above, whatever we have, based on this, we are just pulling the data. It all book name you want, it is in this format, string book name. Price we want 200.00 decimal price. Number of books we want, it is in the form of 10 integer number of books. Now I told total decimal into anything will give you decimal. So decimal total. Discount I have taken decimal. Final price I have taken. For calculation I told what is the formula we have to use. We just give the formula. Right, boss? So understand the requirement in this way. When you are writing a program, first we should have a clarity. What is the goal of writing this program? What exactly you are trying to achieve in this program? Without understanding this, if you straight away write a program with a string book name, then the second point, third line will stop it. Because it's a simplified version, you're doing it. When you go to advanced programs, you'll be stuck up because you don't have clarity about what to write. When you are new to the programming, until you get comfort zone, this is the way you are supposed to analyze and write. Even though you understand one or second program or third program, but don't quit this process until you become expert on analyzing the programming. So in the initial days, this is the way in which you are supposed to identify and write for all new developers. People who are already developers, right? You already crossed that stage. Right. Fine, boss. I hope you are good with this. People have followed this requirement, right? Okay. Let me give a couple of use cases. Start writing the programs for this. Everyone has followed this requirement, right? Now, write this code. Now, looking at this, write the code now. Everyone has followed, right? You can write the code. Now, this is the discussion what we had. Looking at this, write the program. Write the program what I defined. Whatever the code I have given, rewrite the code. Looking at this example, rewrite the code. Define the variables, calculate the values. Create the variables first, then calculate the value. Create the variables, then calculate the values. Looking at the requirement, create the code. Don't sit idle, write the code. First, define the variables. What are the variables we had? String, book name, decimal price, integer number of books, decimal total, decimal discount, decimal final price. Now, first create the variables. Create the variables. Integer number of books, now assign the values. Assign the value of price. Right. Let her write. Let her write. She will write. Don't show excitement. Number of books. Total minus discount. This is what I have given. Right. If you want to, done boss. Let us go to the next one. Everyone is good with that? Don't copy. Keep an attempt of writing it. Don't copy. Keep an attempt of writing it. Right. Now, I want you to identify each and every data type and write separately. There's shortcut ways of writing it. But every line I want you to write separately to get practice. Right. Now let us go to the next one. Now I have what course you want. Now so pay the amount. Now convert this program. Convert this program. Understand what is the data involved. First identify what is the data involved. Then write the code for this. Understand what is the data involved and take the sample data, then create the program. Analyze and write. Analyze the data and write the code. Analyze the code and write the analyze the data and write the code, boss. So what is the data involved in this? Course name, duration, fee, GST. Now we have course name, duration, fee, GST and total. Now I told course name is in which format? Lightning. Duration is which format? It is 60. Fee is in, I can give, if I want to take only 5,000, it's integer. I want to take GST. Now it is a calculated by system fee into 18%. Total calculated by system fee plus GST. Now write the code for this. Looking at the conversation, first we need to understand. At the end of the game, if somebody give a requirement in the form of documentation, you have to read the documentation, identify what is our requirement, what data is involved, what they are expecting us to do. This is a way of understanding your requirement. So course name is going to be in the form of duration is this is how we created. Now assign the values. Now what is this thing, boss? What is this thing? What is this thing? It is a data type. What is that course name? It is a variable name. Decimal is what? Data type. Fee is what? Okay, variable. Decimal is what? Data type. GST is what? Variable. Data type, variable. Now any number with a decimal point will take what? Decimal. Any number without decimal point, integer. You want to take any value with a without, okay, any value with a combination of digits or other than digits. You want to take any value which has anything other than digits, it is a string. Okay, so like now what we have done, duration. So we had 18%. Right, boss? Clear with this? Clear, boss? Now, let us go to the next one. So this is my requirement. So looking at this data, identify what is the data involved, then what are the calculations involved, start writing the code. Look at this conversation, identify what is the data involved, then what are the calculations involved, then accordingly write the code. This may look like a funny, but really going to help you out when identifying the requirements. So sincerely make an attempt. Write the code. The data involved in this operation. Now variable name should be lower camel, company name. Then we had number of employees, annual revenue, then I have loan, type of loan, then we have sanction amount, then we have how many years you want, then interest, we have what is the total. So this is the data which is involved. Company name we had Wipro, it is in the form of string. Now we have number of employees 10,000, it is in the form of integer. Annual revenue 10 lakhs. Loan type personal loan. It is in the form of string. Sanction amount calculation. What is the calculation? Annual revenue into 60%. Number of years to integer. Interest calculation. What is the calculation you want to give? Sanctioned year, sanction amount into years into 10%. Total this is what I have created. So in this, what is the data involved in which we are giving the values, which values are collected by the system, what data we are entering, which data is entered by the system, and which are collected by the system. Now what we are going to do, so what is the format? String then integer years, then we have decimal interest. This is what I give. Then assign the values. Assign the values. You didn't understand the concept, tell me. Don't break the chairs. Now, number of employees, annual revenue, then loan type, then we have sanction amount, right? This is how we are just. So in this process, what we are doing, if you look at the process, we are just trying to understand the data, then what is the format of the data, then what if any calculations are there, what is the calculation we are supposed to follow. If you are taking this, writing the code has become easy for us. So if you are new to the programming, this is the order in which you are supposed to learn, right boss? So here we have interest, sanction amount into years into some 10%. Total is, now we are writing a snippet. This is called a snippet of the code, logic writing, right? I hope you are good with this, right? People have followed, or shall I take with couple of examples, right? Now I have taken years value, right? You can give it year equal to 2. Right. Let us do one more final example for this format, and we go to the next topic. Everybody is good with this, right, boss? Don't copy the code. If you copy the code, you are not going to get anything. It's waste of your time. Make an attempt of writing. If you not follow, let me know. I can take one more example. But don't copy the codes. Now, customer name, Now build this, take the data and write the code. I already given the data formats. Already I have given the data formats. Then what we are doing? What is the data involved? Customer name, industry, rating, ownership, salary, bonus, tax, GST. Format of data also I have given. Some calculations are there which you are supposed to make it. Right? Clear for everyone? Clear, boss? Okay. So how are you defining the variables? Everybody is good with this format? Everyone has followed? So depends upon the format, data type will be decided. So sample data we have to take. What is the format of the data we are getting? We have to take a sample data. Then we have to decide a data type. This is the initial cases. Later on, you know what to take. But at the beginning of learning the courses, you are supposed to take a sample data, then take a data type. Then you understand why you have taken. Right, boss? I hope you are good with this. Now let us go to the next part. So we have local variables and global variables. Now variables are defined as a local and global. To understand this local and global, first we need to know scope. What is the operator we have? Scope operator. Now we need to understand scope. What is the scope and how we are going to take it? How you write a scope? What is the purpose of a scope and how we are going to define it? Now, if I define the floor bracket, it is called scope. Floor brackets, if you define, it's called scope. Now, let me give you. You can write whatever the logic you want. Scope, you can write whatever the logic you want. Scope of if. I wrote if. What is this called? Scope of if. After the if, I wrote the floor bracket. It is called scope of if. Scope of if. Then we have scope of. For every scope, we give a name. After the for, I am giving a floor bracket. So it is called scope of for. After the if, I write scope of if. After the for, if I write scope of for. Floor bracket is a scope. Floor bracket is a scope. How do you refer to the scope? With a name. How do you refer to the scope? With a name. So what I am going to give? Example. Scope of show. What is that? Scope of show. For show, I gave a floor bracket. Scope of show. Example. Class. So what was that? Scope of example. Scope of invoice data. Scope of invoice data. Scope of interface. This scope, this is referred with this name. Scope of type. Scope of catch. Now, before the floor bracket, we are giving a name. Then we are going to call scope of that name. Scope before the floor bracket, what I gave? If. Scope of if. Before the floor bracket, what I gave? For. Scope of for. Before the floor bracket, what I gave? Show. Scope of show. Scope of example. Scope of invoice data. Scope of demo. Scope of try. Scope of catch. So floor bracket means scope. Before the floor bracket, we are going to give a name. That is a name. If you want to call this scope, that name will be used. If I want to call this scope, I will call try. If I want to call this scope, I will call demo. When I say invoice data, so every scope will be given a name. If you call that name, that scope will run. If you call that name, scope will run. I hope you are good. Clear? Okay. Now, let us understand the next point. Local variables, global variables. Local variables, global variables. Local variables, global variables. Now, what is a local variable and a global variable? Let me give you. Now, local variable and global variables are based on the scope. Scope will decide which is a local, which is a global. Right. Now, let me give an example. Now, Do you know this Ramesh boss? Anybody know? He's my BTech classmate. Right. Does anyone of you know? No. No, he is only known within my friend circle. This is the scope of my friend circle. Only within this friend circle, people know who is the Ramesh. Now, outside if I ask somebody outside of my friend circle, do you know Ramesh? They'll slap me. Because he was known only within my circle. Now let us say, you know KCR boss. Now he is known within my friend circle, outside my friend circle. Now he has a better scope, more scope than this Ramesh. Outside my friend circle, nobody know there is a person called Ramesh exists. Right? Outside my friend circle, nobody know that a person called Ramesh exists. Now, a KCR is known outside my friend circle, within my friend circle. So, anything that you define within a scope is existing only within the scope. That cannot be used outside the scope. Anything that you define within the scope is used only within the scope. Outside the scope, nobody knows. Anything you define outside the scope, that can be used within the scope, outside the scope. Are you getting my point? Anything that you define. When you say define, it is defining. Use. This is not definition. Defining means data type variable. If you define a data type along with the variable, it is called defining. If you define any new variable, within the scope, it is called local variable. Right. Global variable means if you define any variable outside the scope, it is called global. Global variable can be used within the scope. Can be used. You already defined outside, I can use it within the scope. Variable defined within the scope cannot be used outside. Are you getting my point? Variable defined within the scope can be used only within the scope. Variable defined outside the scope can be used within the scope, outside the scope. I hope you are clear. Everyone got the concept? Clear for everyone? Is the concept is clear? Now look at this. First let me give you the definition. Variables defined outside the scope are called global variables. Can be used within the scope and outside the scope. Global variables can be used within the scope and outside the scope. Any variable defined within the scope or outside the scope are called global variables. Local variables. Variables defined inside the scope are called local variables. Variables defined within the scope are called local variables. Local variables can be used only within the scope. Local variables cannot be accessed I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now, example. Integer. Now I have given this. Now if we give this, what are the local variables? Local variables, city, branch. Now age and name I didn't define within the scope. Age and name are defined outside. They are used. I have age equal to 50, name equal to Priya. It is used, not defined. Now city and branch I defined. String city, string branch. They are defined. So local variables are city and branch. Global variables are age and variables defined variables defined outside the scope are global. They can be used. We can use it. I hope you are good, Amma. Any query? This is what defined or used. That is used. This is what defined. Defined means data type variable. Now, this is how I define. So tell me what are the local variables? Variables are code, global variables. Global variables are college name. Now, can I use this location? Okay, can I use this branch outside? Branch equal to, okay, EC, what is it? Because any variable defined within the scope cannot be used outside the scope. Any variable defined within the scope cannot be used outside the scope. Am I clear with this? So local variables and global variables. Now look at this. Last example. Right. This is how I got it. Now, let me give. For show, I am taking a show. If it is a show, what are the local variables? For show, what is the local variable? Only age. Okay, in the show, I have taken only age. What is the global? Global is name. They are global, whether you use or not is your choice. They are global. What is the global? Above this floor bracket, what is printed? Name and phone. What are global? Name for display. What is the local variable? What is a global name? Can I use age here? Can I use no? Why? Within the floor bracket it is defined only for the floor bracket. Within the floor bracket I have defined only for the floor bracket should be used. Outside the floor bracket I cannot use. Are you clear about this? Everyone followed this? Everyone followed this? Clear? Clear for everyone? Right, Amma? Everyone followed this? Let me give one more example. Now, look at this. Now, understand, you tell me what should I do? I have email. This should be used within call me, within display. Phone number should be used within call me. You have college name should be used only within call me. Branch should be used only within display. Now tell me, where should I define email? Where should I define? In the example or call me or display? Where should I define email? Example. Why? Email should be visible. Email should be available in call me. Email should be visible in display. If you want a value to be visible in both the cases, outside the case. So I am giving string email. What about the phone? Phone should be visible. Call me, display. So what will you do? String. Now I told college name should be visible only for college name. So where should I display? Within the column. I told branch should be displayed in the display. Now you have to understand where you want this value to be used. According to that, you have to define outside or inside. Where this value should be used, according to that, we have to decide inside or outside. Right? Are you getting? If you want a value to be used by everybody, outside. If you want this value to be used only by these people, inside that block. Inside that block means what? Local. Nobody can call it. I hope you are good. Clear for everyone? So that's all from my end for the day. Any queries before I wind up? Everyone is good with that?
Satish.
Online, 1 minute I'm online. Let me finish off the class. Any query from the classroom? Regarding which topic?
We call it full sandbox as staging.
Staging.
So only full sandbox is taken as stage or anything?
It is not stage. The alternate name is called staging. Staging is the alternate name. Your pet name, right? Your pet name at your house. Like that for the sandbox, your pet name is staging.
Staging, not staging.
Staging. Yes, online. Go ahead.
Yes, Satish. Can we say global variables as class variables?
That will
Because variables you are defining inside.
That we'll discuss it when we go for a class. It's really to come back to the class concept. Okay. Now just
So
understand.
both are different,
No,
right?
both see that is called as a class variable, but we didn't discuss about the class. When I go for the class, I'll tell you whether it's a class variable or not. It's too early to discuss the point.
Okay.
If you already know the classes, then it's called class variable. If you already know, it's called class variable. If it doesn't know about the classes, we'll discuss the class concept. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, what is it?
Company name is all right.
You call the company is called org of the company.
That is production and
You are taking half the statement. You are taking only half the statement what I am doing. The production is called company's org.
production name. I might not put that environment is called other production.
Production. What you are going to get from Salesforce? Production you are going to get. Okay, then production only you are going to get remaining instance. Okay.
कंपनी से भी लिख सकते हैं नंबर ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज की जगह
हाँ,
कंपनी भी लिख
और स्प्लिट कोड से क्यों ले रहे हैं? ये वैल्यू नहीं है ना,
हाँ
सिर्फ वेरिएबल था। हाँ,
तो अपन कंपनी से भी नंबर ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज जो
हाँ।
लिखे थे नंबर ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज के लिखे थे तो कंपनी से भी वो लिख सकते हैं।
आपकी मर्जी है, जो नाम चाहिए आप चाहिए। ओके ओके, लेकिन आप क्यों सिंगल कोर्स में क्यों लेते हैं? निकाल दो, उसके पहले डेटा डाल दो। सो मैंने कैसे लिखा था, मैंने पूरा देख सब कुछ सभी जगह पर वही लिखा था अपने। तो कैसे लिखना, डेटा टाइप, तो पहले जो मैंने दिया था वो इस तरह लिखना, इसके बाद आप पैक करो। तो आप देख पूरा नोट्स में आपकी गलती लिखा था, पूरा रॉन्ग ही फॉर्मेट है ना। जब आप प्रिपेयर होगा यही देखेगा, बाकी प्रोग्राम भी ऐसे लिखेगा, सही है ना? ये कैसे
यहाँ पे आना है सर
ये स्ट्रिंग जो लिखा था ये इस तरह आना। सो अभी स्ट्रिंग लिख दी आपने, ये स्ट्रिंग लिख लिखना। तो जो वेरिएबल नाम लिया था ये वैल्यू नहीं है, ये वेरिएबल है। वेरिएबल का नाम सिंगल कोट्स में नहीं रहेगा। अगर वैल्यू ले रहे तो अभी विप्रो ये वैल्यू था, ये कंपनी नेम तो वेरिएबल था। ओके, वेरिएबल सिंगल कोट्स में नहीं रहेगा। डेटा टाइप वेरिएबल इक्वल टू वैल्यू। अगर वैल्यू आप स्ट्रिंग ले रहे तो सिंगल कोट्स में लेना, ठीक है? यस, नहीं सिर्फ सैलरी। जब आप सैलरी यूज करेगा, ओके, जो वैल्यू आपने स्टोर करता वो आ गया, वो आएगा इधर। नहीं, वैल्यू नहीं लिखना, अभी वैल्यू दिया था ना इधर। ओके, सो आप सैलरी लिख दिए तो वैल्यू ऑटोमेटिकली रिप्लेस होगा। नहीं, तो ये सैलरी क्यों लिया आपने? वैल्यू देने के लिए लिया था। तो अभी सैलरी में वैल्यू था ना। तो कौन सा स्कोप है? इससे टर्मिनोलॉजी अभी मैं कुछ कोई नाम दे सकता, ओके, अलग अलग कॉन्सेप्ट रहता, फंक्शन रहता, क्लासेस रहता, इंटरफेस रहता, फॉर लूप रहता। ओके, तो अभी सिर्फ वो स्कोप यूज करने के लिए मैं ओके सैंपल नाम दिया था। या यस,
క్లాస్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ కూడా మీరు ఫ్లవర్ మ్యాప్
అవును, ఇది ఎగ్జాంపుల్ స్కోప్. ఎగ్జాంపుల్ స్కోప్ నా స్కోప్ లో సబ్ స్కోప్ ఉన్నాయి.
ఓకే అంటే
స్కోపే ఇది, ఎగ్జాంపుల్ స్కోప్.
ఇప్పుడు ఎగ్జాంపుల్ స్కోప్ అయినప్పుడు గ్లోబల్ కాదు సార్,
ఇది ఎగ్జాంపుల్ గ్లోబల్ కాదు, కాల్మీకి గ్లోబల్ కదా.
కాల్మీకి గ్లోబల్,
ఎగ్జాంపుల్ కి లోకల్ అవుతాయి.
లోకల్ అయిపోతుంది.